Well, it's time to finally review the game I've been hyping up since December of 2018 when it was announced, Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled. And the reason I waited like a whole 2 months to actually review it is because, well, it's no big secret that I'm a massive Crash Bandicoot fan, and Crash Team Racing is one of my favorite games of all time. And considering how much I enjoyed Nitro-Fueled right when it came out, I figured I'd wait a little bit and let it settle so I don't have a biased perspective on things. Also because I knew there were going to be some big changes later on, like the Grand Prix events or microtransactions. We'll get to them later. For now, let's go over the core game itself and see how it recaptures the magic we all experienced 20 years ago. The gameplay and content of the original Crash Team Racing is kept 100% intact. All the characters, all the tracks, and all the game modes. Even the cheat codes are still here, ones used to unlock Penta Penguin, get infinite boost, shorten all the races to 1 lap, etc. And as far as mechanics go, everything feels almost exactly like the original. The reserve system does feel a little weaker in some areas, but it's still effective. They kept all the levels of Sacred Fire, including Ultimate Sacred Fire, which is easier to detect now. They kept U-turning, they kept air braking, and they even updated the UI to make timing your boost easier. In fact, let me applaud the game's accessibility from that. You see, I have very poor eyesight, but in the original I never had an issue seeing the boost gauge because of the screen's aspect ratio. However, in this new HD remastered Crash Team Racing, trying to monitor my boost gauge while also keeping my eyes on the road is a bit tricky. Thankfully, they implemented a new mechanic called Nitro Wheels, in which your tires light up depending on how much boost you have. I would have much preferred the option to switch to Nitro Kart's boost gauge where it shows up in the center of the screen, but this is a good substitute. Now going back to the gameplay, there are a few bugs here and there, like sometimes you'll occasionally hit an invisible wall. But I can't really complain about that because there were plenty of bugs in the original. Just be thankful that this time they can patch those things out and fix them over time. Imagine if the speedrunning shortcuts from the original were still usable online. Something that was kept from the original though is of course Adventure Mode, with beautifully remastered cutscenes. They're so full of character, charm, color, and life that I must have rewatched them 100 times by now. All of the boss races and extra missions were kept in there as well, rewarding you with customization items, skins, and characters. In fact, these extra missions were given their own modes and can be played right from the main menu. However, beating them in Adventure Mode is the only way to get the rewards from them, which means that completing them for the Nitro Kart tracks is kinda pointless, but still fun anyways. And yes, you heard me correctly, Nitro Kart tracks. The game is called Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled after all. All the content from both CTR and CNK are in this game. All the characters, including the bosses which weren't playable in the original unless you had the Game Boy Advanced version, all the karts, all the tracks, and all the battle arenas. The only thing that's missing is Nitro Kart's Adventure Mode, but that was never promised to us, so anyone who takes points off for it not being here is a loony. They'd have to make a bunch of new hub worlds, they'd have to make a bunch of new rewards for the players for completing all the different challenges, they'd have to reanimate another 30 minutes worth of cutscenes. It's not like it could have been done within a day's work or anything. Now going back to the tracks for Crash Nitro Kart, they've been recreated as faithfully as possible, without the anti-gravity mechanic implemented. This is definitely for the better though. I grew up playing Nitro Kart as well, and the anti-gravity mechanics slowed you down big time. Not to mention they make the level design quite limited when it comes to shortcuts. Seeing how Beanox took all these cool creative liberties with the Nitro Kart tracks while still keeping them recognizable is amazing. So overall, I think they did an incredible job remaking all the content from the original CTR and Crash Nitro Kart. But remaking isn't all they did. There's plenty of new content as well. You can customize your karts with different wheels, paints, and bodies, and your characters with different skins. And one of the coolest part about these customization items is that they're all cosmetic. They don't affect your racing stats, so there's no potential for broken customization combinations, and you can choose whatever setup you like without having to worry about learning a new playstyle. It also helps keep the game balanced for newcomers and pro players, since all 4 stat classes are playable from the start. It all comes down to skill at the end of the day. Now, a lot of these customization options can be unlocked by simply playing the game and completing different missions. However, there's also quite a number that you can purchase with in-game currency called Wumpa Coins in the game's pit stop mode. And oh boy, I brought up the pit stop, so it's time for a big boy talk. Controversial opinion, but I don't think the pit stop is the worst thing in the world. Trust me, if you saw how something like Fortnite did this whole layout, you'd be kissing Beanox's feet right now. Okay, so everything in the pit stop requires Wumpa coins to purchase, which can be earned simply by playing the game. Now, items in there may seem pretty pricey and expensive at first, but there are plenty of daily and weekend bonuses that can help you rack up a ton of coins. However, if you see that as too much of a hassle, there's also the option to purchase Wumpa coins in order to get things quicker, and this is what made everyone freak out. The word microtransactions is so scary to some people. They had Twitter riots, they threatened to boycott and stop playing the game altogether, even though the total online player base numbers haven't gone down at all. But here's the thing, people see it as manipulative and predatory, which isn't the case. For one, the microtransactions themselves aren't even advertised in the game. They were silently implemented without any in-game announcements and are kept on a separate tab in the pit stop. And they don't even show off the bundles in the game. You have to go to the PlayStation Store. Beanox said they had no plans for microtransactions at all. This is clearly an Activision decision. And Beanox is definitely showing that they don't want us to feel forced or pressured to buy them, by how out of the way they're keeping them. Now, some are trying to say that the game is trying to tempt you into buying coins by how grindy Wumpa coin collecting feels and how low the rates are, but they're not. I was able to unlock everything before microtransactions were even announced, and I didn't even get to play every day, and most of the days I did play were barely even enough to use up all the Wumpa coin bonuses. It is absolutely 100% possible to unlock everything in a reasonable amount of time without having to give your life away. Trust me, those who complain about Wumpa coin rates and the prices of items are just lazy, because they'll complain that the game is too grindy and it takes too long to get everything, but then they'll also complain that microtransactions take away the fun and hard work of unlocking things yourself. They contradict themselves. However, I will admit there is a big flaw. You can't access the pit stop at all without internet, or get the weekend and daily bonuses in offline modes. That definitely needs to be fixed. But as for everything else that I just mentioned, it's fine. All this content and all the content to come is 100% free. And props to Beanox for being so generous and hardworking. Speaking of future content and content to come though, they arrive in the form of the Grand Prix events. Now, I assumed they'd be a monthly thing, but we're actually getting a second August one right at the end of the month. These events give us a buttload of new characters and customization items, and a brand new track. Not from CTR or CNK or any other Crash racing games, just fully original tracks. All these new items arrive in the pit stop for you to buy with Wumpa coins, but there's also a higher tier of special items that you can earn through completing challenges and gaining Nitro points. Now, a lot of these challenges can end up feeling slow and mundane, but if you have the right characters and customization options equipped, you can actually multiply the amount of Nitro points you gain for completing challenges. This fills up the bar extremely fast and you can be done with it all within a few days. And once again, everything that gets added, even the stuff unlockable through challenges, is 100% free. Now, there's a fear people have that once a Grand Prix ends, all the items from it disappear forever if you haven't unlocked them. But that's not the case. They come back after the next Grand Prix ends. But if you still have that fear anyways, they've implemented a new feature that, when a Grand Prix ends, they still give you a few days to unlock everything, and you can even fill up the rest of your Nitro gauge with Wumpa coins. The price obviously going down depending on how much progress you made. Again, it's great that we're getting buttloads of free content like this, and I can't wait to see what else they do in the future. The last new feature I want to talk about though is the online, and it's okay. It definitely needs some work, but it's not the worst thing in the world. They've implemented some new item balancing features and even added super engines from battle mode online. So they are clearly working to give us a better experience, but there's still some lag, some connection issues, yada yada, stuff that happens with every game. My main disappointment from online mode comes from what there is to do. There's no cup races, and you can't even set up private lobbies with a code. You have to have people added to your friends list in order to set up a private lobby with them. But yeah, there's not much to say about this mode overall. It's fun, just some lag, and it's pretty bare bones for now, but they're definitely working on it. So overall, what do I think of Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled? Naughty Dog purists may get mad at me for saying this, but I do think it is better than the original. All the content from Crash Team Racing and Crash Nitro Kart was kept 100% intact. The only complaints anyone has comes from brand new stuff. The pit stop, how some of the Grand Prix missions are, the online, etc. So if the stuff from the original is as good as it's always been and perfectly recreated, then how can this new stuff, which doesn't affect that, put a damper on things? I did my best to give this game a lot of time so I could look at it from an unbiased perspective, but I still think it's a 10 out of 10. I mean, I think the original is a 10 out of 10, and if I just said I think Nitro-Fueled is better, what do you think that's gonna get? Overall, I hope you enjoy this video. Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled is an incredibly beautiful and faithful recreation and remaster of the original, plus a lot more, and it's definitely worth your time. LeopoldTheBrave, out.